The foundation of mental health, understanding its four core dimensions. Mental health is the invisible thread that shapes our emotions, thoughts, relationships, and sense of purpose. It impacts how we cope with challenges, build resilience, and engage with the world around us. Yet, in many discussions, mental health is often reduced to a single aspect, usually focused on psychological disorders, without recognizing its broader framework. Welcome to Seeds of Tomorrow, where education meets emotional resilience. In reality, mental health is multidimensional, encompassing emotional, psychological, social, and spiritual well-being. Each of these elements plays a crucial role in shaping an individual's overall mental health. When one is neglected or imbalanced, it can affect every other aspect, leading to distress or dysfunction. Mental health is more than just the absence of illness. It's a dynamic balance of emotions, thoughts, relationships, and purpose that shapes how we experience life. To truly strengthen well-being, we must look beyond just psychological disorders and recognize the four core dimensions of mental health. Emotional. Mental health governs how we process, express, and regulate emotions. Psychological mental health involves cognitive functions, thought patterns, and mental stability. Social mental health determines how we interact with others and build meaningful relationships. Spiritual mental health provides a sense of purpose, direction, and inner peace. This exploration is not just about understanding mental health, but also about strengthening each dimension to foster a balanced, resilient mind. Through this discussion, we will uncover how these four aspects intersect, how schools and communities can support mental well-being, and what practical strategies individuals can use to cultivate lasting emotional and psychological strength. Emotional mental health, the foundation of psychological well-being. Emotional mental health is the ability to recognize, understand, and regulate emotions in a way that promotes well-being and healthy relationships. It influences how individuals cope with stress, express feelings, and respond to life's challenges. Why emotional health matters. When emotional health is strong, individuals can process emotions effectively, recognizing feelings without suppression or denial, regulate emotional responses, managing stress, frustration, and anxiety constructively, build resilience, recovering from setbacks without emotional overwhelm, strengthen relationships, navigating conflicts with empathy and open communication. On the other hand, poor emotional health can lead to impulsive reactions, chronic stress, and difficulty handling life's uncertainties. Common emotional health challenges. Certain mental health disorders are deeply connected to emotional regulation. Anxiety disorders, excessive worry, panic attacks, and difficulty managing fears. Mood disorders, depression and bipolar disorder, affecting emotional stability. Emotional dysregulation, intense mood swings and impulsive emotional reactions. For example, a student experiencing chronic stress may withdraw socially, exhibit irritability, or struggle with concentration, impacting both academic performance and personal well-being. Strategies for strengthening emotional health. Improving emotional well-being involves intentional self-awareness and regulation techniques. Mindfulness practices. Meditation, deep breathing, and grounding exercises help manage emotional fluctuations. Cognitive behavioral therapy, identifying and restructuring negative thought patterns enhances emotional control. Self-reflection and journaling. Writing about emotions improves self-awareness and emotional clarity. Healthy emotional expression. Practicing open, honest communication prevents emotional suppression. Balanced lifestyle. Sleep, nutrition, and physical activity influence emotional stability. For example, schools that introduce daily emotional check-ins find that students develop stronger self-awareness and emotional resilience over time. Emotional health and long-term resilience. Emotional well-being is not just about feeling happy. It's about having the ability to face life's challenges with confidence. Strengthening emotional health means cultivating self-awareness, resilience, and emotional intelligence, leading to better relationships, decision-making, and overall mental wellness. Psychological mental health, the stability of thought and perception. Psychological mental health refers to how we process information, make decisions, and perceive reality. It shapes our ability to handle stress, reason effectively, and maintain cognitive balance. Why psychological health matters? Inconsistencies. Strong psychological health enables individuals to think clearly and critically, processing information logically without distortion. Late stress responses, managing anxiety and cognitive overload effectively. Adapt to challenges, maintaining mental flexibility in uncertain situations. Maintain a stable perception of reality, avoiding intrusive thoughts or distorted thinking. When psychological health is compromised, individuals may experience confusion, anxiety, or extreme emotional instability. Common psychological disorders. Psychological health is often disrupted by conditions such as schizophrenia, disordered thinking, hallucinations, and difficulty distinguishing reality. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, intrusive thoughts leading to compulsive behaviors. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, recurrent distress linked to past trauma. For example, a student struggling with intrusive thoughts might experience difficulty concentrating, leading to academic struggles and emotional distress. Strategies for strengthening psychological health. Improving psychological well-being involves consistent cognitive regulation practices. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Identifying and restructuring irrational thoughts, mindfulness and meditation, enhancing mental clarity and reducing stress-induced distortions. Healthy routines and sleep hygiene, strengthening cognitive function through adequate rest. Professional support and therapy. Seeking guidance for persistent cognitive challenges. Self-reflection and journaling, understanding thought patterns and emotional triggers. For example, schools that incorporate structured mental health education find that students exhibit stronger cognitive resilience and improved focus in learning environments. Psychological health and long-term resilience. Psychological well-being is not just about intelligence. It's about cognitive flexibility and emotional stability. Strengthening this area allows individuals to process emotions, challenges, and decisions with greater clarity and resilience. Social mental health, the power of connection and belonging. Social mental health refers to how we interact with others, form relationships, and maintain a sense of belonging. It plays a crucial role in shaping our emotional resilience, self-esteem, and overall mental well-being. Why social mental health matters. Strong social mental health enables individuals to build meaningful relationships, creating deep, supportive connections with others. Develop strong communication skills, expressing emotions clearly and constructively. Maintain emotional resilience, drawing strength from social support during difficult times. Name conflict effectively, managing disagreements without emotional distress. When social mental health is neglected, individuals may experience loneliness, isolation, and difficulty maintaining healthy relationships. Common social health challenges. Certain conditions directly affect a person's ability to form and maintain social connections. Social anxiety disorder, fear of social interactions, leading to avoidance. Personality disorders, difficulty in building stable, trusting relationships. Loneliness and isolation, prolonged disconnection from others, impacting mental health. For example, a student struggling with social anxiety might avoid group activities, leading to academic and emotional difficulties. Strategies for strengthening social health. To improve social mental health, individuals can practice active listening and empathy, strengthening interpersonal relationships. Community engagement, participating in social activities and support networks. Healthy boundaries, balancing social interactions with personal emotional needs. Conflict resolution skills, navigating disagreements with emotional intelligence. Resilient communication, expressing feelings and thoughts clearly without fear. For example, schools that implement peer mentorship programs find that students develop greater social confidence and emotional resilience. Social mental health and long-term stability. Social well-being is not just about having friends. It's about feeling connected, valued, and emotionally secure within relationships. Strengthening this area allows individuals to navigate life with confidence, build meaningful connections, and foster a strong support system. Spiritual mental health, finding meaning and inner peace. Spiritual mental health is the sense of purpose, meaning, and inner stability that guides individuals through life's challenges. It is not limited to religion. It includes mindfulness, self-awareness, and deep personal reflection. Why spiritual mental health matters? When spiritual well-being is strong, individuals can find deeper meaning in life, understanding personal values and long-term goals. Strengthen emotional resilience, using inner peace as a foundation for facing adversity. Practice mindfulness and gratitude, cultivating an awareness of the present moment. Common social health challenges. Certain conditions directly affect a person's ability to form and maintain social connections. Social anxiety disorder, fear of social interactions, leading to avoidance. Personality disorders, difficulty in building stable, trusting relationships. Loneliness and isolation, prolonged disconnection from others, impacting mental health. For example, a student struggling with social anxiety might avoid group activities, leading to academic and emotional difficulties. Strategies for strengthening social health. To improve social mental health, individuals can practice active listening and empathy, strengthening interpersonal relationships. Community engagement, participating in social activities and support networks. Healthy boundaries, balancing social interactions with personal emotional needs. Conflict resolution skills, navigating disagreements with emotional intelligence. Communication, expressing feelings and thoughts clearly without fear. For example, schools that implement peer mentorship programs find that students develop greater social confidence and emotional resilience. Social mental health and long-term stability. Social well-being is not just about having friends. It's about feeling connected, valued, and emotionally secure within relationships. Strengthening this area allows individuals to navigate life with confidence, build meaningful connections, and foster a strong support system. Spiritual mental health, finding meaning and inner peace. Spiritual mental health is the sense of purpose, meaning, and inner stability that guides individuals through life's challenges. It is not limited to religion. It includes mindfulness, self-awareness, and deep personal reflection. Why spiritual mental health matters. When spiritual well-being is strong, individuals can find deeper meaning in life, understanding personal values and long-term goals, strengthen emotional resilience, using inner peace as a foundation for facing adversity, practice mindfulness and gratitude, cultivating an awareness of the present moment, maintain a calm, centered mindset, developing mental clarity in difficult situations. Without spiritual balance, individuals may feel disconnected, restless, or lacking direction. How spirituality influences mental health. Spiritual mental health can improve emotional well-being by providing a sense of purpose, helping individuals navigate life's uncertainties with confidence, encouraging mindfulness and gratitude, reducing stress and promoting emotional clarity, strengthening resilience, helping individuals cope with challenges through self-awareness. For example, people who practice daily gratitude exercises report higher emotional stability, reduced stress levels, and greater overall happiness. Practices for nurturing spiritual well-being. Spiritual health can be cultivated through personal reflection and mindful practices. Meditation and self-reflection, enhancing inner peace and emotional awareness. Philosophical exploration, studying Stoicism, mindfulness, or personal belief systems. Connecting with nature, spending time outdoors to promote mental clarity. Acts of compassion and service, helping others to build deeper fulfillment. Journaling and personal growth, writing about experiences to foster understanding. For example, individuals who engage in intentional self-reflection often experience a greater sense of peace, clarity, and emotional balance. Spiritual mental health and long-term well-being. Spiritual health is not just about belief, it's about understanding oneself and cultivating lasting inner strength. When balanced, it provides a guiding force for emotional and psychological resilience, shaping a mindset of purpose, gratitude, and growth. If this resonates with you, support the channel with a like. It keeps this content coming. The interconnection of all four types, a holistic approach to mental health. Mental health is not a collection of isolated aspects. Each of the four types, emotional, psychological, social, and spiritual, are deeply interconnected. When one is affected, it influences the others, creating either a balanced foundation for mental well-being or a cycle of distress that requires intentional intervention. How the four types influence one another. Every human experience involves an interplay of thoughts, emotions, relationships, and purpose, meaning that these types cannot exist independently. Emotional and psychological mental health. How we process emotions influences cognitive clarity. Social and emotional health. Strong relationships help regulate emotions and reduce stress. Psychological and spiritual health. Belief systems shape cognitive resilience and perception. Social and spiritual health. A sense of belonging strengthens purpose and emotional stability. For example, a student struggling with social anxiety, social mental health, may develop negative thought patterns, psychological mental health, leading to emotional distress, emotional mental health. If they lack inner purpose, spiritual health, recovery becomes more challenging. The chain reaction of mental health imbalance. When one aspect is weakened, it affects the entire structure of mental well-being. A person with poor emotional health might struggle with self-awareness, leading to irrational thoughts, psychological health, and difficulty in relationships, social health. A lack of psychological clarity could create anxiety-driven interactions, weakening social confidence. Social isolation may lead to emotional instability, affecting self-esteem and perception of reality. An absence of spiritual grounding could result in a loss of meaning, making emotional regulation harder. Without intervention, this cycle reinforces itself, making it more difficult for individuals to regain balance. For example, a child raised in an emotionally unstable home may internalize psychological distress, struggle to form social bonds, and feel disconnected from a deeper purpose. The path to restoring balance. To strengthen mental health holistically, individuals must nurture all four types rather than focusing on one alone. Improve emotional regulation. Journaling, mindfulness, and self-awareness exercises. Enhance psychological clarity. Cognitive therapy, meditation, and structured routines. Strengthen social connections. Active listening, open communication, and supportive relationships. Develop spiritual resilience. Reflection, gratitude, and purpose-driven engagement. For example, schools that integrate emotional education, cognitive development, social programs, and mindfulness practices see students exhibit higher psychological resilience and emotional intelligence. Sizing holistic mental health ways. True well-being is not about isolated improvements. It's about a unified approach to emotional, psychological, social, and spiritual growth. By embracing all four dimensions, individuals can navigate life's challenges with greater clarity, confidence, and resilience. Strategies for strengthening mental health, a holistic approach. Mental health is not just about recovery. It's about continuous reinforcement through structured emotional regulation, cognitive development, social support, and inner growth. Strengthening mental health requires intentional strategies that nurture emotional, psychological, social, and spiritual well-being over time. 1. Emotional regulation techniques, strengthening self-awareness. Emotional health is built on self-awareness, resilience, and the ability to manage feelings effectively. Without emotional regulation, individuals may experience stress overload, impulsive reactions, or emotional suppression. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, meditation, deep breathing, and grounding techniques. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, restructuring negative thought patterns. Expressive writing and journaling, identifying emotional triggers and processing feelings. Balanced lifestyle choices. Nutrition, sleep, and movement improve emotional stability. Healthy emotional expression. Practicing open communication to prevent emotional suppression. For example, schools that introduce daily emotional check-ins help students develop self-awareness and emotional resilience over time. 2. Psychological strengthening, building cognitive resilience. Psychological well-being is essential for clear thinking, problem-solving, and emotional balance. When thought patterns become rigid, negative, or distorted, psychological distress can occur. Cognitive reframing and thought management, challenging irrational beliefs. Meditation and visualization, enhancing mental clarity and emotional control. Healthy routines and sleep hygiene, strengthening cognitive function through adequate rest. Professional support and therapy, seeking guidance for persistent cognitive challenges. Self-reflection and personal growth practices, understanding thought patterns and emotional triggers. For example, schools that incorporate structured mental health education find that students exhibit stronger cognitive resilience and improve focus in learning environments. 3. Social strength, developing healthy relationships. Humans thrive in emotionally supportive environments. Relationships impact mood, self-esteem, and long-term resilience. Social mental health strengthens an individual's ability to build meaningful connections and communicate effectively. Active listening and empathy, strengthening interpersonal relationships, community engagement and support networks, reinforcing emotional security. Healthy boundaries and conflict resolution, managing social dynamics effectively. Social connection and trust-building exercises, fostering emotional openness. Open communication and relationship growth, preventing emotional isolation. For example, schools that implement peer mentorship programs help students develop greater social confidence and emotional resilience. 4. Spiritual resilience, strengthening inner peace and purpose. Spiritual mental health focuses on self-awareness, mindfulness, and finding deeper meaning in life. It provides emotional grounding, stress relief, and psychological clarity. Meditation and reflection, cultivating inner peace and emotional awareness. Philosophical exploration and self-discovery, engaging with stoicism, mindfulness, or personal belief systems. Nature and solitude practices, finding clarity through peaceful environments. Confiscated acts of compassion and personal growth, strengthening emotional fulfillment. Gratitude and journaling exercises, cultivating lasting mental stability. For example, individuals who practice daily gratitude exercises report higher emotional stability and reduced stress level. 5. Long-term mental health reinforcement. Mental health is not fixed, it evolves over time. To sustain long-term resilience, individuals must continue developing emotional regulation skills, cognitive flexibility, and supportive social frameworks. Emotional intelligence training, developing deeper self-awareness and empathy. Therapeutic and reflective techniques, journaling, CBT, and self-growth exercises. Community and social engagement, strengthening emotional support networks. Mindfulness and resilience practices, meditation, deep breathing, and cognitive awareness. Policy and systemic change advocacy, encouraging mental health prioritization in schools and workplaces. For example, schools that integrate mental health education into daily learning see students develop higher emotional intelligence and resilience. Strengthening mental health for a resilient future. Mental health is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Empower individuals, equip them with lifelong emotional regulation tools. Support educators, train them in mental health awareness. Advocate for systemic change. Ensure policies prioritize mental well-being. Conclusion: the future of mental health awareness. Mental health is not just an individual concern. It's a societal imperative that shapes education, workplaces, relationships, and overall quality of life. As research continues to evolve, the importance of integrating emotional, psychological, social, and spiritual well-being into everyday life becomes clearer. Yet, despite growing awareness, many systems, especially schools, still fail to prioritize mental health as a fundamental pillar of development. For true transformation to occur, mental health must be treated as seriously as academic performance or physical health, creating environments where emotional resilience is nurtured from an early age. The path forward: building a sustainable mental health framework. 1. Education reform, making mental health an essential part of learning. Schools should embed mental health education into the curriculum, teaching students about emotional regulation, stress management, and coping strategies. The importance of social connections and communication skills, cognize development and resilience building techniques. For example, countries that incorporate structured mental health programs into schools see lower rates of anxiety, depression, and academic burnout among students. 2. Workplace mental health initiatives, reducing stress and burnout. Businesses must recognize that mental health is a core component of employee productivity. A future-focused workplace should prioritize clarified, subsidized life balance and stress reduction initiatives, emotional intelligence training for leadership, accessible mental health resources for employees. For example, companies that provide flexible schedules and emotional support programs experience higher employee retention and overall productivity. 3. Policy and systemic change. Advocating for institutional mental health reform. Governments must enact policies that fund mental health services, prevent discrimination, and ensure access to care. Some necessary steps include increasing funding for mental health professionals in schools, expanding community-based mental health support centers, reducing stigma through nationwide awareness campaigns. For example, countries that invest in mental health accessibility see higher national well-being and lower healthcare costs over time. The power of communities and content creators in mental health advocacy. Mental health awareness is not just an individual effort, it thrives through collective action. Communities and content creators have a unique ability to shape conversations, dismantle stigma, and drive meaningful change. By leveraging social platforms, educational spaces, and shared experiences, they can create a culture where emotional resilience and psychological well-being are openly discussed and prioritized. How communities strengthen mental health awareness. Strong, supportive communities provide the foundation for lasting mental health change. When individuals come together to normalize conversations about emotional well-being, they create environments where people feel seen, heard, and empowered to seek support. Encouraging open dialogue, community-led discussions help break societal stigma. Providing support networks, safe spaces, allow individuals to share experiences without judgment. Advocating for institutional change, organized efforts push schools, workplaces, and governments to prioritize mental health policies. Facilitating accessible resources, local programs, workshops, and peer support groups strengthen mental health education. For example, schools that collaborate with mental health advocates see higher engagement and reduce student anxiety, showing the power of community-driven awareness. The role of content creators in mental health advocacy. In today's digital landscape, content creators play a pivotal role in mental health education and awareness. By crafting emotionally engaging, informative, and supportive content, they help individuals navigate stress, resilience, emotional regulation, and self-growth, sharing personal stories and lessons. Authentic storytelling fosters deep emotional connections. Providing practical strategies, educational content equips viewers with tools for self-care and emotional strength. Challenging mental health misconceptions. Fact-based discussions dismantle harmful stereotypes, bridging cultural and generational gaps. Bilingual and culturally aware content makes mental health accessible to diverse audiences. For example, platforms that highlight mental health discussions, philosophical resilience techniques, and structured learning methods foster greater emotional intelligence among audiences. The collective mission. Advocating for a future of mental well-being, mental health advocacy does not rest on a single voice. It thrives through shared effort. Whether through community engagement, content creation, or policy reform, the future depends on how individuals come together to shape a world where emotional resilience is valued and protected. Support initiatives that elevate mental health awareness, educate communities, and create environments where emotional well-being is not just acknowledged but nurtured. Every conversation matters. Every step forward counts.